Hi everyone, welcome back to Chinspinchats episode 2. Tonight I'm joined by Uncle Creepy himself, Ian McCall. Hi Ian, how you doing?
Very good, how are you?
I'm great, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Anytime.
So first of all, Ian, I just basically, I want to get people familiar with the project that you've been doing, the Mccall Method. I just want you to give us a little bit of information about that and what it is.
So I teach health and wellness, but I'm also a psychedelic integration coach, which means I help people integrating the things you learn in psychedelic journeys into your life to become a better person. And then also I teach the performance benefits of psychedelics on a microdosing level, like something like this. This is Argos.
Right. Mm-hmm.
This is a microdosing company that's so it's a weird thought process to think it's kind of life coaching, but it kind of is. I don't want to be a life coach. It's not my goal here. Mm-hmm. But people's lives are in such disarray. It's fucking crazy. Mm-hmm. And like, I was a guy who I didn't have my shit together at all. Sure, I was able to accomplish a sport. I was able to, become the best in the world at it. But the rest of my life was utter just madness. There was no structure. I mean, I have literally no idea how my daughter is such a good kid. Like, I guess she just saw the exact opposite. I was like, nope, I'm not going to do that. But, through psychedelics, through my own healing, obviously I'm an obsessive person. You have to be obsessive to go and do the things that we want to do. So I just, I knew I was broken. I wanted to kill myself. Mm-hmm. So that's not a good sign. And I had previously healed my daughter or myself and my family with cannabis. I mean, diet and exercise are paramount. That's the most important thing. But cannabis, like large doses of cannabis oil to a 2-year-old is, getting a little kid stoned is kind of funny, but kind of not. But it's good to know she's not on painkiller. She's not on chemotherapy drugs. She's not on whatever else they want to give her to poison her. Mm-hmm. So we were able to accomplish that. And that was kind of my understanding of, okay, I can do this. If I healed her, she can walk again. She can live a life. Then, it'll work with anybody. So I dove deep into psychedelics. I have no formal education, realistically. I'm a citizen scientist, or a scientific researcher. Uh-huh. But again, being obsessive, I learned everything I can about this. I had my first job was working politically, trying to get signatures and things, decriminalized on a larger scale here in California. And then I went into, the psycho-spiritual, more working with certain shaman of certain native tribes around here. I'm a reverend for a church, a plant medicine church, nice. A preacher, I should say. I haven't gone through the reverend certification yet, but there's a lot of things, a lot of boxes we checked along the way. And people just started to just go, wow, what is this? What are you doing? And it's, I have a platform. The fact I have a blue check mark and some sort of fame. These individuals that taught me how to fix myself, they gave me the tools to do it. Mm-hmm. They're the ones that I'm putting on my website, like this doctor and this healer and this person, because they don't have a platform. And I show people like, look, I'm not the guy. I'm not, I don't know everything. I just was able to figure out some stuff. I found some tools and I'm just trying to provide them for everybody else. Mm-hmm. And obviously along that process, myself and my fiance, she's been a scientist forever, 26 years, I think. She's a UCLA professor, wrote a program on couples integration. I do parenting stuff, obviously not taking mushrooms and hanging out with your kids, but just understanding of how to work with your kid on a better level. Because people, again, have no idea how to do that. I see it all the time. And like my good friends, like I see their kids and they're fucking drunk or whatever. And I'm just like, come here. I'm like, no, you go. I'm going to take your kids down the beach and we're going to go have fun. But it's just like people are inept to deal with themselves or to raise children. And these aren't bad people. These are normal, like rich people, whatever. Like they're people that are successful. I have some very successful friends that have no fucking idea what they're doing. And they just, so like I said, back to the not wanting to be a life coach. It's basically life coaching. It's diet and exercise and mental, physical, like, there's a lot to it, but I'm not trying to help people sell stuff or like do this motivation. It's like, no, I'm just giving you those tools to do it yourself. Yeah. I'll put stuff in front of you, but I'm more or less the guy that just sits back. I want the people themselves to do the work, because that's how you get the best results. And especially on psychedelics, you cannot be giving someone psychedelics and then talking to them. Yeah. Like programming them, asking questions, like leading the conversation. You just let people, and that's not something I always say it because people ask me. I don't really give ceremony. It's a lot of energy that's absorbed. Yeah. These people are dealing with childhood traumas, the most, the craziest traumatic events of their life. And you bring it up and you have to sit there and hold space for them and help them through it. And it's really hard. I'll bet. So that's one part that I go, look, like you can go and do your own. I'm very choosy with who I give ceremony to, where I lead through a journey, because, it's just something that it's really hard. So basically, if you were going to say that's sorry for interrupting you. I was just going to say, if someone who'd never tried psychedelics, what advice would you give them? And how you said earlier about the Argos dosage. I've tried psychedelics myself. I've experienced with a number of different things, shrooms. I've smoked some DMT. I've took acids, just random little things like just trying different things as you do growing up. But how much, if somebody had never tried it, would you say it was what's the stated dose? What Argos, as you say, there's a micro dose. What would you say to take, and what advice would you give? Well, it all depends on what you're looking to do, what you're looking to accomplish. Like I showed you these things. This is a microdose. This is a microdose gummy. They look cool. They smell great. But it depends. Are you looking to just be efficient and go train? Are you have a hard sparring day where you need to be one level up, which is what I call a performance dose. You have a microdose, a performance dose, and then you have a therapeutic dose. So say for instance, if it was performance dose, so say if you were an active person day to day, how would that vary? What would you take in that sense? The active dose or the performance dose. Sorry, allergies. So it's been so annoying. My nose is running like crazy. A microdose is between 50 milligrams or 0.05 and 0.25. So 250 milligrams. I say no. I say it's more like 500, 50 to 500. That's a good microdose, because someone like myself, I just ate 5 gummies. Like that's because, that's just, I have a tolerance. Yeah. But so as you start to microdose and you start to build those neural pathways and you start to, repetition is the mother of skill. That's how you get good at something. And while you're dosed up to do these certain things, your body will then remember them better. Your body will do them like that instead of having to go, oh, jab, cross, hook, you missed this, like you're just in a flow state and your body's just going. And then what I tell people is try and figure out in there, as your citizen scientist self, where do you hit a point where, maybe too much. I get the anxiety, or my stomach hurts, whatever it is that you don't like about it. And that you have to kind of play with it.
Yeah.
And, don't be afraid to let your training partners know what you're doing and say, hey, if I'm too fucked up, I'm going to go sit down. So no one's beating the shit out of you. You don't need it. But then from there, I tell people, look, I want you in a super heightened state while you perform. So then what we can do is, as we start to modulate those microdoses, we'll take one step up, maybe go to so you kind of hop over a good enough dose to set you off, to really get all your senses firing, to get that flow state just like that. And it comes down to learning how to work in the space, how to take them and go do it. Like if I was to fight, I'd probably take at least 1.5 grams.
Yeah. See, in my experience with them, I had the first time I did them, no one really told us any doses or what. So we had a few grams there, but I was smoking on it at the time. I was smoking weed as well. So the first time I did it, it was kind of like it was just like a mellow. I definitely feeling the mushrooms, but it wasn't too much. It was like quite a nice, relaxed buzz, like little slight visuals, like it felt like little gold or kind of purple leaves in the kind of side of in me peripheral vision. But then obviously feeling like, oh, that was fine. I'll go deeper next time. We ate loads, like too many. And I had like the most mental, craziest time in my life. And I couldn't have even did anything on that, never mind train, you know what I mean? So that's what I was trying to get, because obviously I'm super interested in it. It's a different kind of perception, obviously, you know what I mean? So I was just trying to get some understanding of kind of what mind space you're in when you're on the microdose. Can you feel the effect of it? When you're on it, do you feel like the kind of, as you say, you've took a lot yourself, if you get the kind of heavy breathing where it's kind of like as if it's kind of like a big, deep kind of pressure on your chest. Do you get that kind of feeling from it? Or is it just kind of just more like in your mind space kind of thing?
Well, it's supposed to be sub-perceptual. That's a micro. A microdose is not supposed to feel.
Yeah.
But it becomes perceptual at about 200 milligrams.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know anyone that does not feel 200 milligrams, and that's really not that much.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting, we still don't even know milligram wise what we're working with, because there's no lab tested product out there. Argos will be the first lab tested. The first person I've told this. They'll be the first lab tested product in the world for mushrooms, because without that, you don't know what you're getting.
Yeah.
And right now, all these people in the business are just grinding up mushrooms and putting them in chocolate or gummies or whatever. Where this company, they have extract, so it's actual pure extract. And because you can't just grind something up and say, oh, there's this much in there, when you have no idea the difference between a penis envy mushroom and an albino or a golden teacher.
Golden teachers,
the tryptamine profile and amount of psilocybin, it is way different. So it's really realistically, we don't even know what we're getting. That's the thing. We're getting a good estimation about it. But as this movement grows, you'll see, testing come in. You'll see little pamphlets with all your products that say, this is your profile of this. So it's just a brand new industry. It's going to grow a lot.
Definitely. I've looked into a fair bit of it myself. I travel to Amsterdam a fair bit, like obviously the last year has been a nightmare for travel wise, but aside from that, I'm normally there all the time. And it's truffles out there. It's kind of, it's still a psychedelic, but it's a different kind of thing, and experience for a bit of them, but it's still kind of same feelings when you take a certain amount. And it's really interesting. And I've seen it, obviously, a lot of kind of reports about it helping a lot with mental health as well. Like obviously seeing it can help with depression and stuff like that. So it's a really interesting field that you're venturing into. I'll obviously keep an eye on how you're doing with it. It's super interesting.
Yeah, the like you were saying, the pressure on the chest, that little bit of anxiety, that's kind of where some people like it, some people don't. So it's kind of like, do you want that extra anxiety going into the fight as you're working? Because you understand like how fucking frightening it is.
Terrifying.
I don't care who you are. maybe John Jones isn't scared, but he's an actual sociopath, I think, or psychopath.
Well, maybe he is, because he was saying before that he would take coke and get pissed up, and then that would be his kind of defense mechanism for if he lost. So maybe that is a little bit of kind of fear in him that
bro.
You know what I mean?
That dude's a fucking generate.
But I do. I get terrified.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's so scary. It is so frightening to be doing that, and it's like what we chose to do. So if you can kind of play in that realm, like I said, you just got to do it. You just got to do it yourself and see where your body lies, because we'll lead that into mental health. Yeah, you don't want to have a breakdown in there. Do you take too much? You could fuck this up, and you could be too high or not perform.
Yeah,
and that's what we're trying to negate, because when you take a microdose, you have a dropping of what's called the fear response. Mm-hmm. Fear response is obviously what it sounds like. It's it's your fight or flight, and if you can drop that down and have zero fear of what's going on, and just being able to analyze your brain, your senses are heightened, your brain, your real brain in your stomach and your processor up here are processing at a very, very, very much faster speed, and everything seems like it slows down. When you get in this beautiful flow state that not only is in your head but also in your body. It's not going to make you more physically strong, but it's going to let you move like silk. And as you know, as a fighter, that's what you want. You don't need to be all like I look now. I'm all buff now because
I mean, I fight at 61 kilos. I'm like 85 kilos now. You know what I mean? I'm a middleweight at the minute, essentially. It's the way it is. I'm always in a big cut, but it's you're right. You're totally right. I like what you touched on there about you saying, the your processor up here, but your real brain down here. I totally get what you mean by that. Obviously you feel, especially when you're jumping into psychedelics and stuff like that. Like obviously that's the whole kind of the way you feel there. You know what I mean? Especially like when you have a fight. That's what I always say to people. It's not so much nerves as in like you're worried or anything like that. You just get certain kind of feelings in your body and yourself, and it's always your stomach and crampy and stuff like that. I like the way you kind of explain to people watching what you kind of meant by the processor and the real brain down here.
Well, yeah, because the numbers are pretty staggering. The drugs that are made here. Dopamine, serotonin, they're not made up here. This is like I said, this is just a processor. Your actual brain, the way we think of it is here. And you have to have that connection because your gut-brain connection is huge. Now, as young people with the diets that we have and the stress that we have, your gut lining, your gut biome gets torn. And that right there is the original loss of sense of self. Because you lose the connection right there. I mean, that's as a kid. Whether it's a normal person or someone who's autistic, or I mean, obviously being autistic, it's going to be more severe, the gut-brain connection as far as the breakup. But it's very important. I mean, gut health is huge, and people always talk about the microbiome, the bacteria in our body. Okay, but no one talks about the fungus. The only people that talk about the fungus are females because they have vaginas. But even most of them, they're like, what? I'm like, oh, okay, no. People just don't know. They're just uneducated. There's the myco, MYCO, the mycological biome inside of your stomach as well. So let's say you get sick, you take probiotic, or you take not probiotics, you take whatever it is that kills off everything, antibiotics. God, that was a hard word. And you take it and it eviscerates all the bacteria in your body. And people go, oh, I'm taking probiotics and prebiotics and digestive enzymes to make it work better, or to make my body, replenish everything. And they don't even know there's fungus in there. So I'm like, no, you have to replenish that because as we age, all that stuff degrades anyways. So I teach something called the myco diet. It's, imagine a big table here,
Yeah.
Okay? You have your nuts and your fruits and your vegetables and your meat. If you choose through this diet to take one of these things off this table, good for you. Just don't shit on everyone else for it.
Yeah.
I don't care if you want to eat only meat or only vegetables or whatever. That's great. Add in a lot of mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to save your life. It'll build your immune system. It's got antifungal, antiviral, antibacterial properties. It'll help your brain through neuroplasticity. They're a good source of trace elements, protein, vitamin D. There's so many benefits in mushrooms, and they're intelligent. They're smarter than we are. So
I've eaten a fair bit of the lion's mane mushroom. I get this kind of like capsules with it in. And also I was going to ask, when you're saying that about eat plenty of mushrooms, what can you basically say, like, because I eat mushrooms raw a lot of the time. Does that make a difference, or is there a certain kind of mushroom or certain type way to cook it, or does it matter if it's raw or not? Because I eat a lot of them raw. Like when I get a tub of mushrooms, I normally just pouch them at just like sweets.
Honestly, it's probably better raw because you're not heating it up and degrading the product itself. But I would say, both, because then you might activate something as you heat it up a little bit too.
Yeah, because of chemical compounds and a lot of things. Like you say, for instance, marijuana, you cook marijuana, you smoke it, it's one kind of thing, the THC, then you cook it and it's a different kind of abbreviation of that essentially. So I guess it's going to be this kind of same thing with mushrooms. Basically,
theoretically.
Yeah, sorry, what were you going to say, Matt?
I was just saying, theoretically, yeah. It's these molecules get activated at a certain temperature.
Yeah.
So figure out. Still a lot to figure out.
For sure. Basically, so another thing I was going to touch on, for a lot of people, obviously, especially on my Instagram, most of the people are surely going to know who you are, through the fighting and stuff. I certainly do. I've been a massive fan for years, you know what I mean? One of me, as I said on my post recently that I just put on promoting this, was one of my favorite things was the final 20 odd seconds when you fought Demetrius Johnson, when you're on his back and you were tensing up like that. That to me was, I love a bit of that, you know what I mean? I thought that was awesome. But basically, I just want people who don't know or are not familiar with your career. You're a pioneer for the smaller weight classes, when there wasn't, especially in the world, there wasn't much happening in them lower divisions, and you were fighting everyone, fighting everywhere, you know what I mean? So I think that, for me personally, I love traveling the world and I love fighting, you know what I mean? And so to see you doing that when there wasn't such a platform, it's inspirational, you know what I mean? So it's really cool. So for people that don't know, obviously you fought Demetrius Johnson for the title, and I was just going to ask you, what did you think going out of that fight? Obviously, I heard before you fought him, I remember watching you were talking on there. It was a talk show, I think it was, and you were saying if someone asked you who would be your ideal fight, and you said Demetrius Johnson. What was that kind of feeling like? Because in my opinion, obviously the first fight and second fight, both of them great. In my opinion, he's the greatest of all time. A lot because he's a smaller weight class, people don't give him credit. But in my opinion, he is the greatest of all time. I'm vocal about it all the time. I've always thought that. And your fight with him, it was tooth and nail. It could have gone either way. How did you feel going out of that fight? And when the fight was finished, did you think you'd won it? Obviously, watching the celebration, it looked like you thought you did enough, especially the first time. So, what's your take on it? Mm-hmm.
I knew that I could out scramble him and catch him there. I knew I could do that for everybody. And I knew he was fast. I wasn't ready for it, how fast he actually was, because it's really crazy how hard he is to get a hold of. But yeah, I knew I could beat him going into it. After, of course, I thought I won, and that was actually the point of my life where I fucked up.
Really?
I started using Oxycontin again. Mm. I used that as a, poor me, I got screwed kind of feeling. And then I went out and just started partying again. I guess Oxycontin is not really partying. It's more misery, but whatever I was doing.
Yeah. Just personal healing, essentially.
Yeah. Numbing.
Numbing it, blanking it. Yeah. That's
and, Demetrius used that point as a push to become the greatest ever.
Yeah.
And I sit back and I think, man, because I was positioned to be kind of the first Connor before Connor was, they wanted a lightweight star, and you have to win to do that. You have to keep to do that. And I didn't.
Yeah.
And, you know, would I have been able to accomplish what Demetrius accomplished? Because, you know, I would have been a star like Conor. I mean, sure, I'm not Conor McGregor. I know that he's special. But I would have made way more money than Demetrius.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would have been way more popular than Demetrius. I'm sure they would have done the Ronda where they pushed me into movies and they did this and this, and I ran around everywhere. And then someone ended up, beating the crap out of me, embarrassing me, because that's just how it works. You know, like, you can't be doing that shit. You think
that's a cruel thing.
All right. So, number one, would I have been able to accomplish what Demetrius did? I doubt it. Mm. And I probably wouldn't be alive. I mean, I died anyways of a drug overdose. Like, that much fame and that much money probably would have been a bad idea at that point in my life. So I just have to take it on the chin and say, look, I was able to do some cool stuff. Yeah. I'm not proud of what I did for a living, for all those years, because I'm not proud of the person I was. Yeah. It's no one else's. I'm not. I didn't get screwed by the UFC or this and that. I'm not, bitter about anything. I'm mad at myself. Mm-hmm. I'm not even mad at myself. I don't give a shit anymore. It is what it is. I just go, okay, like, that was a crazy time in my life. It's over, and it's thank God it's over. Yeah.
So where was your favorite place that you fought? Obviously, you fought all over. Where for you was your favorite place?
Dublin.
Dublin, really? Mm-hmm.
It was incredible. I mean, everyone was so loud.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it was insane. I've been to Brazil. I've seen fights all over the place. Either Ireland or Japan. As far as me being, a person that was raised in MMA, and I got to become friends with, all the people I looked up to, my idols and stuff. Going to Japan was huge.
Yeah, that's somewhere I've always wanted to fight, like Japan, always. So yeah, obviously fighting out there. I was supposed to fight main event on a Bellator card in Dublin. That was like last year, got cancelled twice. Ended up fighting somewhere else. So I got to witness it. I still got to go out there, but my fight got cancelled, so I missed it and had to fight later on at a later date. But I've seen firsthand what you're saying about that, and it was somewhere that I wanted to experience that one, especially being the away fighter fighting an Irish guy as well. That would have been a special thing to try and overcome as well. Obviously, it's fighting's tough as it is, but then overcome audience in the crowd as hostile as that. I mean, I fought in South Africa, and I got a taste of it out there. You know what I mean? But I think Dublin would have been something different. Like, I just want to know what was it like fighting in Japan? Because Japan for me is somewhere I'm a massive fan of MMA in general. Even before I fought, I watched it. It's something I still do now all the time. I always watch fights, study fights, and the culture of fans in Japan. Like, that's the kind of thing the way I look at fighting. I'm not really a trash talking kind of guy. I mean, if I'm against a guy who has that, then obviously you're gonna do it back. But I'm more of a kind of guy with the whole respect thing, and I think that's the kind of culture out there. I just want to know, what was it like fighting out there?
It was everything I dreamed of, everything I thought of, except my results in the ring were horrible. But it was incredible. I always dreamed of being in Japan fighting as a kid, but I wasn't quite old enough. I was like, I wasn't quite old enough, and I wasn't quite big enough. Because me going over there to fight in Shuto or Pancrase, the money almost wasn't worth it. Yeah. Me, it's weird. So, but the people are amazing over there. The fans are truly incredible in Japan. They're my favorite fans, the Japanese fans. I mean, they were such good people. The Irish are great. Don't get me wrong. They're just fucking crazy. They were wild and so happy, so drunk, and it was entertaining. But Japanese MMA has a very special place in my heart, because I remember just being a kid and watching Pride and being so happy and knowing, like, I know that guy. That's my friend. I rolled with him. Like, it was amazing.
All right. So who, in your opinion, if you don't mind us asking, who in your opinion has been your toughest test, your toughest fight to date?
No, Demetrius for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just the puzzle. My whole approach to mixed martial arts is technique, is technical.
Yeah.
Is technique in madness and scrambles and all, you know, all this stuff. And that was the hardest puzzle to figure out.
That's one thing.
Like my other law.
Yeah.
Sorry, like Joe or whatever. It just wasn't as hard of a puzzle to figure out.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. That's why I think, in my opinion, that's why I believe he is the GOAT. You know, even in fights where he's had a super tough fight, I feel like any time after that, he's always came back a different person. You know, he's never, I mean, I even think he won the last fight when he fought Henry Cejudo. I still give him that fight, even though he didn't get the nod. I still give him that. And so that's more so the reason I think he's the GOAT, just the IQ, the knowledge of if he ever does get a rematch, just the kind of changes he makes in that time to prepare again for the next fight against the same guy. You know, I think it's just a special kind of brain. I think he is a special fighter. If you could fight one person again, if you were out of retirement, if you could fight somebody again, who would it be?
I'd have to say either Demetrius.
Mm-hmm.
It'd have to be a money fighter or Henry, one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, Henry and I were talking not that long ago, and he's like, "Fuck, man, you remember we were supposed to fight?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I got hurt. I popped my knee, and he, no, wait. Wow, I think I got injured. Obviously, that always happened. But, you know, he's like, "Yeah, you would have fucked me up back then." He's like, you know, that was like the perfect timing before he had changed into his different stance and all that stuff. And you know, because he's a triple C.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have to say either him or DJ just because we got to settle the score.
Yeah.
But you know, being able to, and also being able to, you know, I like Henry. It would be fun to do.
Yeah.
and put a stop to the King of Creams thing. Just play it up. It would be a fun back and forth sort of thing. Whereas Demetrius, it would just be, you know, boring, pure respect and that sort of stuff.
I've watched you fight, you know, for a long time. I personally really enjoyed the Brad Pickett fight. I've obviously knew who Brad was for a long time, being a UK fighter myself. So that to me, that was a great one. You know, Brad's another pioneer, especially from where I'm from as well. You know, I used to be fighting at featherweight and stuff like that. So he was doing it for the small guys as well. So I really enjoyed that one. One of the other things I wanted to kind of bring up and speak to you about is I was reading the other day. I was just wanting to know, like, how did you end up ending down the path of being a stand-up comedian? How did that come around in your life, and what you're doing with that?
Well, I had 3 goals as a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, number 1 was a scientist.
That was mine.
And then number 2 was a stand-up comedian, and number 3 was a fighter.
Mm-hmm.
I accomplished the fighting part. The science part, when I speak, doctors and scientists listen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not allowed in the meetings. Realistically, like, I'm part of a pharmaceutical company, and I can't even work for my own company because I'm not a doctor or scientist.
Yeah.
Even though I know more about these certain things than these fucking people do.
Yeah.
Just I shouldn't say fucking people. These people, they're just doctors and scientists. I think it's better. I do, but I don't have those credentials, so I can't. I can't do certain things. But where was I going with that? This industry is very weird.
Mm-hmm.
It is a very interesting place to be. And to be this guy, it's too early.
Yeah.
Realistically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure, I was on HBO. Sure, I'm doing all this, whatever other stuff. It's still too early for this industry.
Yeah.
And that's how you have to be. If you want to really make the biggest impact and change and be the person in the front leading the pack responsibly, that's what you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my goal in this, is to show everyone, look, this is how you do it. Be careful, have fun, be responsible, and also share your stories.
Yeah,
everyone needs to share their story.
So is that how you ended up on the comedian side of things, storytelling about your life, or is it more? Yeah, that's cool.
I was at my CBD company. We have a production studio in the back with like green screen and a stage, and we do comedy there and our puppet show and all this stuff. And my buddy Zach goes, "Hey, do comedy with me this week. You're kind of funny. Like come do your first set." And I said, "Okay." And I went out and I did it, and I did good, finger quotes good. I'm sure it was entertaining, at least a little silly. But the second one I did was an open mic. He goes, "All right, come with me on Monday." This was Friday. He goes, "Come with me Monday and do this open mic." It was the most awful 5 minutes of my life. And my whole life was set in 5-minute increments of violence. So that was harder. And I just knew it. At that point, I was super void of emotion. I was healed. I was happy, but I was just like, there was no reaction. So I finally got some emotion and I liked it. And then the first 8 months of my comedy career was horrible. I was not funny at all. But it was therapeutic for me. And it also gave me a tool, an educational tool.
Yeah.
That's my is I need to educate these people. And back to not being allowed in those meetings, I have to have a voice.
Yeah.
I'm never going to be allowed in those meetings. It's not how it works. I learned that. I did so much work to try and be allowed in those meetings, and I'm just not welcome in the club, which is fine, whatever. So I have to take a different approach to this educational thing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, when they hear the real intellects, the real smart people talk, they just turn off because they don't understand what's happening. So I have to take the smart words and dumb them down with my monkey brain for everybody else. And I just somehow learned how to interpret what they're saying. That's all. They're big words that I learned the meanings of.
So because if it was me personally, as I see it, you can kind of mentalize whatever you're doing in certain ways. Like fighting for me, obviously it's terrifying, but it's something I've done my whole life. I spent my early years boxing, had lots of fights there, moved to MMA when I was 18, fighting there, turned pro, fought from there. And I can put myself in that situation and do it and just rationalize what's happening and get through it. Every single time it's terrifying, it's horrible, it's an emotional process, but you do it every time. But the thought of doing that for me, going out and standing and talking to an audience, especially doing comedy, I would have been absolutely terrified. Were you nervous, or was it exciting, or was it a mix of things?
It's exciting. It's nervous, yes, but I've always used nerves for my advantage. So I look at it this way: there's no one up there trying to beat the fuck out of me, take my money. We're good. I can perform it. And also when I, being able to see my own face on a billboard for an arena, and not to say that I'm not that funny yet, but to say there's an option, there's a chance that I could put my face back on a billboard doing something else. In an arena, I see like these guys, I know I'm a long way off, but just there's an opportunity to make that happen. That's cool. Yeah, I like to strive. I know what I want to be when I grow up. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
to see
yeah, I'm a boy with a dream, and I'm actually doing it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's fun, and it's like I don't do things unless they help other people, and comedy helps other people.
Yeah,
comedy makes people laugh, especially in these crazy times where cancel culture and people being so outraged over everything, literally everything. It's time for people come to comedy to hear us say the gnarliest shit possible and the most real stuff. It's we speak our minds, and that's why I love it so much.
Yeah,
definitely. And it's a good group. A good group of weirdos. I'm used to being with fighters who are weird.
Yeah.
And I try to go out in the normal world and hang out with these healers and these people that are in energy work and yoga, and like I'm generalizing a type of person.
Yeah. Yeah.
They wear a lot of bracelets and they talk like this and whoa, man, your energy's I'm like, I don't fit with those people. As you know, we're used to being on a mat where it's safe.
Yeah.
That sounds weird, but a room full of savages where it's safe.
Yeah.
We know
controlled.
We know the hierarchy of everything, and we care for each other.
Yeah.
Or you get out there into the real world, and I've never had more people stab me in the back and steal from me and lie to me and manipulate me, and I can't even fault them for it. These are people doing their thing in psychedelics.
Yeah.
And it just comes down to the fact that they don't know themselves.
Yeah.
Like we do. They've never tested themselves. They've never given themselves a chance to be great.
A risk.
Just a sad shell of a person.
Yeah.
And I can't be mad at these people for hurting me. Realistically, I'll just take the arrows. It's fine. Keep shooting them. Talk shit. Do whatever you want. I don't care.
Yeah, that's it. I've got a lot of respect for it. My mom's dad, my granddad, he was a comedian back in the day, so it's something I've always kind of looked at and thought was the coolest thing in the world. Anyone to have the bottle, the kind of in the courage to get up there and say the things out like that. I think it's like hats off to them. You know what I mean? I think, and hats off to yourself. Obviously, you're pursuing that dream yourself. It's super awesome. There's one more thing I wanted to ask you. Obviously, this is a different thing. I heard you talking about it before. It was years and years ago. So I might be getting this wrong, but the tattoo in your solar plex, is it the Montague Heart, or can you just explain? Can you just explain for me personally? I've always been interested in it, and can you just for me explain it and just tell us a little bit about it?
So my left arm and my chest have Romeo and Juliet tattoos. I was in drama or theater my whole life. I'm a theater dork, just like I was a dork. I just was really tough, so I was able to beat anyone up who could talk shit. And I like Romeo and Juliet. It's a great
me
story.
too.
And my buddy has Montague, because he was more like Romeo growing up. I was more like a Tybalt, where I was just. There was that, and especially when you saw John de Leguizamo in the movie, and it's just like everyone was referenced as looking like each other. So it was just, and I also have the family crest here. I'm going to finish more of the tattoos, but I love that. I love Shakespeare.
I do. I've got like all's well that ends well. I mean, knuckles and stuff like that. I'm super. I love stuff like that. It's outside the box. I think it's really cool. That was just something I remembered from years back. I can't even remember what show it was on. You were on something, and I think somebody asked you about it, and you went into detail about that, and it was always in the back of my mind. So if I ever got the chance to speak to you, that was what I was going to ask you. What was the reasoning behind that? And thanks for clearing that up for us. I think it's awesome, and I really appreciate your time, and as I say, I know you're super busy, so I'll let you get off. But thanks so much for getting there for letting us speak to you and giving people a chance to hear what you're all about and the Mccall Method as well. I'll definitely keep an eye on that. So, cheers, mate. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, mate.
Yeah, man. Thank you very much for having me.
Cheers, bud. Thank you.